Welcome to We Hear Her. I am Erin Trenbeth Murray.
And I am Jennifer Bean.
We're here today with another amazing woman who's sharing her story and insights to lessons learned.
Welcome back to the We Hear Her podcast. I'm Jennifer Bean, and I'm here this morning with Millicent Tracey. Millicent, could you fill us in on who you are and what you're doing right now?
Sure. So I'm a mother of two teenage girls, 13 and 17.
Say no more. Bless your heart.
Thank you. And I'm also a former banker. I was at Wells Fargo for a little under 20 years in product management on the commercial side. So B2B, most of my products were digital payments. So I'm in what's now called the fintech field.
Okay.
Currently, I am on the board of a community bank in California, and I'm also on a couple boards in Park City, Utah, for nonprofits. And then I also advise several early stage founders for fintech companies.
Wonderful. So give us a little bit more background on how you got to sit beside me in this chair today.
Sure. Kind of a long-winded way, or a long curvy roadway.
Yes.
So I started, and this is very fresh right now because I have a senior who's applying for colleges. And so my theme is, it doesn't matter what you major in, where you go, just enjoy the experience, because you're going to have 50 jobs between now and
this degree.
And that degree.
Yeah.
So I started as an attorney, practiced for a year. Then I did some accounting as a tax person at Arthur Andersen for 4 years.
Okay.
Then I went to a startup for a couple of years that imploded, like a majority of them.
Yeah.
And then while I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, when Craigslist was actually credible, I got contacted by a recruiter. And they said, can you fill in for us at this bank, Wells Fargo, for 6 months? And I was like, well, I'm never going to work for a big bank, but I'll just do it.
I'll do it for
6 months.
this now.
I'll do it for the money. It's fine. And then 19 years later, I was still there. Wells Fargo is a great place for working mothers. They were really good to me. Really, the San Francisco headquarters also was, at that time, really ahead of itself as far as diversity and inclusion. So I feel really lucky to be part of that culture. And then what happened kind of during my tenure at Wells Fargo, my husband and I had a daughter, my middle daughter, who had passed away, unfortunately.
Sorry to hear
that's
that.
okay. And what happened was, then we had kind of learned some lessons pretty quickly. And one of the lessons that my husband learned was, life is too short.
Yes.
I learned that as well. Life is too short. And he had always wanted to run his own company. So he had actually found a company in Salt Lake, bought the company. At first I thought he was going to commute, but he said, nope, we're moving.
And from San Francisco?
From San Francisco. So we moved.
That had to be quite a surprise.
Yeah,
You're like, I thought you were the one going to go and come back.
Totally. And so we moved, and then, and I haven't forgotten the question, how I got here.
Yeah.
And then
You're like, I'm still getting there.
I'm still getting there, people. And then he joined an organization called YPO, which is how I met Erin.
Okay. Yeah.
And so YPO has definitely played a major role in my husband's life, more of a significant role in my life more recently, but that's how I met Erin. And, she told me about this amazing organization that she started, Women Who Succeed, and she asked if I could help in any way. And so I'm a huge fan, huge supporter.
Good.
So that's how I'm here.
That's how you got here. No, I think it's wonderful. And thank you for all the perspective and experience and expertise that you are and will be lending our network of women. And remind me, are you serving as a mentor with Women Who Succeed?
I was, and then ran into some bandwidth challenges.
Yes.
So yeah, but I do mentor women and men outside of Women Who Succeed.
Yeah.
And I think that's a super important
element
role to play. Yes. And I'm
Yeah.
a huge fan of mentorship So
Good,
yeah.
good. What do you think is the most impactful thing that you try to impart on those that you're mentoring?
The biggest thing I have learned, and I also try to impart, is, things happen for a reason. If it feels like something's not working, or you're making so much effort to make something work, it might not be the right
Meant to be.
time, or it might
Yeah.
not be meant to be. So don't use so much energy pushing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just kind of like pay attention to that, and maybe that's the sign telling you should think of a different alternative or a different option.
I love that perspective.
Because like we put so much energy and stress and anxiety into trying to make something work that maybe
Right.
it's not meant to work.
Right. And I think we often can get caught in that rut because we see our efforts being made of grit and tenacity, which are all wonderful qualities.
Absolutely.
But there is a time to step back and maybe reconsider where you're headed and why, and what the roadblocks really are. Have you had a significant roadblock in your journey that made you really
Definitely.
consider where you're headed?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of those roadblocks was our daughter passing away. I mean, my husband and I are very used to working really hard to get results, and so when she got sick, we were like, okay, we'll figure out treatment. She had a super rare brain tumor that she was diagnosed with at
How
about
old was
10.
she?
She was 10 months
10.
or 10 weeks
10
actually.
weeks.
10 weeks, yeah.
Oh,
And so we were
young.
just like, kind of like everything else. We were like, okay, well, we faced it head on. We'll do research. We'll do all the hospitals.
Our hard work will pay
all
off.
the hard work will pay off.
And get the
She'll
outcome
be
that we
fine.
want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's actually not what happened. And it was a good lesson to make you realize, sometimes like it's not, like I said, it's not meant to be, and that's okay. Like it's truly, I'm at the point now, and this was about 14 years ago, where it was truly a gift to experience that. Like obviously I wish she was still with us,
Sure.
but the whole experience has been a gift for us. Like just to
Yeah.
make us realize, what's truly important. I'm going to say all these cliches. What's truly important, life is too short, but literally there is so little in your control.
Right.
And just focus on what you can control and just enjoy the rest of the journey, the ups
Sure.
and the downs.
Sure.
So that's kind of what I try to tell all my mentors. Like sometimes they'll be really trying to get a particular type of job or a role. And, after trying so hard, it's kind of, that's maybe the sign like, well, maybe you should think of doing something else. Maybe that's
Yeah.
the sign. Maybe it wasn't meant to be. Or if they
Yeah.
don't get a job,
Yeah.
maybe that's a good thing.
Right.
Because usually it's a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, you just
after
don't
a few
realize it
years.
quite
Exactly.
yet. Right,
Exactly.
exactly. I love that you've been able to have such perspective after a tragedy.
Yeah, it's been a
And
gift.
yeah. How have you continued on as a mother to two? Let's see, your daughter who passed was in the middle.
She was in the middle, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So how old are your kids
So
now?
my kids are 17, so she's a senior in high school, and then 13, she's a 7th grader.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And what has been the most exciting thing about being a mother of daughters for you?
Exciting. It has been...
Or
riding,
earth-shattering or
I think
challenging?
riding the roller coaster. Like exciting. I'm trying to think with the... Every day is exciting.
Yeah.
Let's just say
Right?
that. Every day is exciting. And I think just stepping back and realizing it literally is a roller coaster. There's ups and downs,
Right.
and try to enjoy all of it. Now,
All of it, right.
again, easier said than
Right.
done. The hardest thing I think I've had to try to learn is, again, I can't control everything. So when it seems like I can fix something, to not fix it for them, because
that's so hard.
It's so hard because you know what to do.
Right.
But like then if you fix it, they won't learn any of it, right?
Right.
They won't learn how to think for themselves. They won't learn how to solve it for themselves, how to be resourceful. They won't learn the feeling of the satisfaction of feeling it for themselves. They won't learn disappointment, which they need to learn.
It
So
sounds
it's so
like
hard.
Yes, right. And
So hard.
it's a line I'm walking right now, I've realized, because I originally set out, my kids are 22, 18, and 16. And I originally set out to be an example of sort of how to walk through this life. And I thought that meant do it like me.
Yes.
And
me too.
Or that was my hope, that I
Yeah.
would do it all so well that they'd be like, oh, I'll do it like she did.
Yeah.
But they're not learning anything in the process, right? And they're not having to do any of it on their own.
Yeah.
And it was sort of an enlightening opportunity, especially if you go through something traumatic or life-changing and you say, okay, maybe my only job here is to walk through it with them beside me and allow them the space to move through it like they need to and how they choose to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I had kind of a similar experience. Like, I thought, me working hard would show them that working hard is important.
right.
Which I feel like in the younger generation, that's actually not totally true for them. Like, we were raised in such a different just culture. Right?
Right.
Anyway, so I thought, if I work hard and show them that, that's a good lesson. But I think what I missed was like not also communicating about the working hard and the process, right? Like just watching my behavior isn't enough. It's like talking them through it. Like, why are you working hard? Why are you choosing to go on this work trip and
I think
miss
that's
my
such
thing?
an important distinction. And I think I was in that boat too, where I'm like, I'll just watch me do it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, no, don't watch me.
Right.
This is horrible. I don't know how to do this. Look away. And then there was that moment where I thought, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
I can be vulnerable. Watch me not to know how to do it, but to know that you can do it when you need to too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like my husband and I always did this thing where we thought, let's not get in fights in front of the kids. And then of course it happened.
And then you're like,
But then we did this, okay, if we get in fights, let's resolve it away from the kids, which was actually stupid.
Right. And you're
Because
like,
then
is it still going on?
Right. And they literally are like, you guys fight all the time.
Is
And
it
we're
over
like,
yet?
They're like, and we were like, we make up all the time. And they're like, you do? And we're like, oh, we do it actually behind closed doors, which is stupid because now they can't see
the whole process.
Right.
Yeah.
So it is funny. I mean, like they always say, kids pick up on everything.
Yes.
And so if you're going to show them stuff, like show them all. Show it all.
Show it all.
Just show it all.
And that's when I feel like when I cross the line and I'm like, well, come along for the journey. Here's it's just today that we're dealing with.
Totally.
So
we just had this family therapy session on Monday, and it was so funny because both my daughters had said something came up. I can't even remember what it was, and they're like, "Oh my God, we never knew that about you and Dad."
Oh, really?
And it was like, seems like it was really impactful because in the last few days, they've just been very different. They've been much more, I guess maybe empathetic.
Sure.
It's interesting.
Humbling. It's very softening.
Yeah.
Right. What do you see in your girls that reminds you of yourself?
Stubbornness.
Let's go. Yeah, I would say good and bad.
Yeah,
good and bad. Right. Let's see it all.
/ resilience.
Yes. I love it. /
Yeah. My mom called it hard-headed, which I never understood that term, but yeah.
I know, right? Is that your willingness to like beat your head against the wall until you make it so?
Yeah,
maybe.
Basically. Right. Like, but I think that's good. It's like not willing to give up until you really have to. But.
Yeah. What do you hope to pass on to your daughters?
That they know that everything's always going to be okay, that they don't have to be perfect, that they don't have to worry about what other people think. There was one question that was in preparation for today that said, if you could go back and change anything about your education, what would it be? And my response to that was, well, first I would have worked harder. I think I would have focused more because I kind of thought if I like went through the motions, everything would be fine. And I did fine. I definitely did fine.
Absolutely.
But I think I could have worked harder. But the only reason I think I should have worked harder is because the other part of it is I was always worried about what other people thought. Like,
and doing it maybe for a different reason than what should have been your focus.
Exactly. Like I wished I would have worked harder for myself. And Yeah, and I definitely worried too much. I worried too much about what other people thought. And I think
Right.
that's because I wanted to feel included.
Right.
I wanted people to want to meet me, and maybe they did, but I just I was worried too much about other people and not enough about what I
Right.
wanted.
Right. I think that's such a keen awareness, right? And we're still trying to do that as adult women.
Yeah.
Pave our own way, make this our own journey.
Yeah.
What are some things you have on your list that you want to accomplish yet?
I want my girls to be happy, like when they leave for college, or I just want them to be happy, like happy when they as adults.
Right.
I want them to feel comfortable speaking out, sharing their opinion, being able to hold their own in any situation. I just don't want them to be afraid, I guess, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Fearlessness.
Yeah. And then what do I want to accomplish for myself? I just want to be healthy. I just turned 53 and I'm like, I just want to be
more
able to
challenging than I
live.
thought.
I know, totally. But yeah, I just want to be around and just like,
to enjoy it all.
To enjoy everything. Yeah. Like my kids, my husband, just life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who has been your role model? You mentioned that you are a mentor to some. Is there anyone mentoring you or who you really have looked up to?
Actually, so right now there is this friend of mine, and I'm not that close with her, but I recently met her, and her name is Teresa Briggs. She's an ex-partner of, there's actually two women, ex-partner of Deloitte, and she is on 5 boards. She's a mom, and she's just rocking it. She's she has enough time for herself, for her partner, for her kids, for these boards. And so she's one person and she's super fun and funny. And then another woman who's also used to be a partner at Deloitte, Terry Schwakopf. She's the same. She's a mom. Her kids are all grown up now. And she is a little bit older than I am, but she's still like super involved with several boards and super involved with her family, and they just both kind of epitomize kind of a mindful life, both engaged professionally and with their family.
I love that. Sort of striving for a full but diversified life. So getting a little bit of everything and moving forward. And I think that your challenge to be vulnerable and present and mindful will go so far. And also be just a wonderful example again, right, of how you want your daughters to, right? We're all doing this to walk through life. But it has been such a pleasure to visit with you a little bit today and get to know more about what's important to you and how you've gotten where you are today.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
Of course.
I've
Thank
enjoyed
you.
this.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for taking time to hear her. Join our efforts and learn more at womenwhosucceed.org. A big thank you to our sponsor, the Clark and Christine Ivory Foundation.